Hello everyone, tonight we are wandering into a world of soft, mud-tangled roots and creatures older than most of your family trees. Picture this, you're ankle-deep in a swamp so thick with mist that you can barely see your own outstretched hand. The air hums with the sound of insects doing their best to out-sing each other, and somewhere out there an ancient turtle slides silently into the dark water, carrying secrets of the weather that no app on your phone could ever hope to match. You probably won't survive out here long enough to find out those secrets yourself. Between the quicksand patches lurking crocodiles and the occasional grumpy snake, let's just say it's not the ideal vacation spot. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. And drop a comment with where you're watching from and what time it is right now. Now turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's get started tonight. You shuffle along behind the tribe's hunters as dawn breaks in the swamp. Though, to be fair, breaks is generous here, the sun doesn't so much rise as it shyly smears itself across the mist, turning the world silver and pale pink. The air smells of wet moss, old wood, and that tang you can never quite describe unless you've been somewhere like this, the scent of water that doesn't move unless it has to. The people around you are silent, their feet used to the squelch of the mud, their eyes scanning for the low shapes of their prize turtles. You watch as the first of these creatures is lifted from a nest of reeds. It's heavier than it looks, its ancient shell carved with delicate notches, each one a mark of some storm survived, some flood weathered. A small boy holds it up toward the weak sun, and an elder leans in squinting at the creature's wrinkled face and slow blinking eyes. Clouds by midday, the elder mutters, pointing at the dampness on the turtle's skin near its legs. You have to admit it's more charming than the way your weather app eats up battery and still gets it wrong. The tribe has gathered at the edge of the water where the turtles are kept. These aren't pets. They're more like oracles with shells. One woman gently flips a turtle onto its side for a moment, inspecting the pattern of moisture and algae on the underside. Rain. In 2 days, she announces, her voice calm, like someone sharing the time of day, rather than a forecast that might decide whether they eat or go hungry. Historians still debate whether these readings were science superstition or something in between, but to the tribe there's no question. The turtles speak the swamp's truth. As you stand there watching the ritual unfold, a breeze stirs the reeds and brings a memory of last season's great flood. You weren't here, but they say the turtles retreated inland days before the water rose. One turtle, a grizzled giant the tribe calls Old Wetfoot, was seen climbing a sandbar long before the first storm cloud darkened the sky. That turtle has become a sort of living legend. Even the children whisper about him with respect. It's said he once refused to move when a hunter tried to prod him into the cooking pot, and then the storm came. The hunter decided not to argue with the weather again after that. You can't help but wonder if the turtles are reading more than weather. Could they sense vibrations in the ground, shifts in air pressure, maybe some change in the water that human senses miss? Actually, fun fact, in modern times, researchers have studied certain tortoise species and found they're surprisingly good at detecting subtle environmental shifts. So who's to say these ancient swamp turtles weren't the original meteorologists? Suddenly, the morning stillness is broken by a loud splash. You whip your head around in time to see a crocodile's head vanish beneath the surface. Your heart thumps as you realize just how close the tribe's children are playing to the water's edge. One of the elders clicks his tongue and gestures them back, muttering something about crocodiles being jealous of turtle wisdom. You're not sure if that's a proverb or a warning, but either way, you step back from the water's edge yourself. A soft laugh comes from a young woman balancing a basket on her head. Careful, she says. The swamp doesn't like newcomers who think too much. You grin, feeling the joke sting just enough to remind you of your place here. As the sun climbs higher, though never quite burning through the mist, the tribe begins to gather up their turtles, placing them gently back into woven reed enclosures built to float if needed. The eldest turtle is set down last with a quiet reverence that reminds you of the way people handle sacred objects. The swamp's orchestra of insects rises in volume, as if to mark the end of the morning's ritual. And as you turn to follow the tribe back toward their cluster of stilted huts, you can't help but glance over your shoulder. The turtles sit in the reeds, half-hidden watching, or maybe they aren't. Maybe they're just waiting for the next change in the wind, the next shift in the air, the next secret the swamp will whisper to those patient enough to listen. You trail behind the others as they wind their way along narrow planks and mossy logs that serve as a kind of path through the swamp. The air is thicker now, as if the swamp is breathing on you, warm, damp, and heavy, with the smell of rotting leaves. Dragonflies the size of your hand buzz past their wings, catching flashes of that reluctant sunlight. When you finally reach the Turtle Keeper's hut, it's not what you expected. No grand shrine, no carved stone. Just a leaning structure of reeds, mud, and driftwood perched above the water on stilts that look too thin to hold it. The roof is a patchwork of woven palm leaves, some of them sagging under the weight of last night's rain. Inside, it's dim and cool. You duck your head through the doorway and blink as your eyes adjust. The air smells of wetter earth, old turtle shells, and the faint tang of smoke from a smoldering fire pit in one corner. The floor is lined with mats of woven grass, their patterns faded by time and muddy feet. Against one wall, turtles of various sizes doze in shallow trays of water, their shells streaked with green-brown and the occasional swirl of yellow lichen. The turtle keeper is there, an older man with skin like cured leather and hair that's mostly disappeared, except for a stubborn fringe above his ears. His hands move gently as he cleans one of the turtles with a scrap of moss. Every morning he mutters, not really to you, but maybe to the turtle or the swamp itself. You must wipe the night's lies from their shells before they can speak the day's truth. His voice is soft, and you lean in to catch the words, careful not to disturb the fragile peace of the place. He gestures for you to sit, and you lower yourself onto one of the mats. A small turtle, no bigger than your palm, crawls slowly toward your foot, its tiny claws clicking softly on the woven grass. The keeper notices and chuckles. That one thinks you have warm feet. You can't help but grin. The swamp may be full of dangers, but here inside this humble hut, the world feels oddly safe. As the keeper works, he tells you how each turtle shell holds stories not just from the tribe's hands, but from the world itself. Cracks and chips from hailstorms, discoloration from drought moss patterns that mark high floods. Historians still debate whether this was pure observation or ritual fancy. He says the words rolling out like a tale told 100 times. But the turtles do not care what scholars think. They listen to the swamp, and we listen to them. You notice small charms hanging from the beams, overhead bones of fish, bits of brightly colored feathers, polished seeds. Some are strung together in patterns that make no sense to you, but you have the feeling they mean something important here. Maybe they're for luck, maybe for protection, or maybe, as the keeper claims, they help the turtles focus their senses. Odd fact, in some cultures, turtles were believed to carry the world on their backs. Here in this swamp, it seems more like they carry the weight of tomorrow's weather. The keeper picks up a turtle whose shell is deeply grooved, worn smooth at the edges. "Old Wetfoot," he says quietly, almost reverently. You recognize the name, the legend the tribe spoke of at dawn. Up close, the turtle's eyes seem impossibly ancient, as if they've watched more storms than any human ever could. The keeper runs a finger gently along the grooves in the shell, each line a storm, each nick a battle with the swamp. He's a map of all the rains we've survived. Outside, the wind shifts and the hut creaks as if protesting the change. You feel the first cool breeze of the day slip through the gaps in the walls. The keeper glances toward the doorway and narrows his eyes. "Weather's turning," he says, setting Old Wetfoot carefully back in his tray. You think about how people in cities check their phones a dozen times a day for weather updates, but Here, a man reads the breeze in a turtle shell and trusts what he finds. As you rise to leave, you catch sight of a small pile of stones near the fire pit. Each one is etched with simple markings, lines, dots, spirals. The keeper sees you looking. They're offerings, he explains, for the spirits of the swamp. Stones don't float, but we give them to the water anyway. He smiles as if he knows how odd it sounds. The swamp keeps what it wants. Before you step back into the swamp's embrace, he offers you a parting gift, a small piece of moss-wrapped wood. For luck, he says, and to remind you not to rush. The swamp doesn't hurry. Neither should you. You tuck it into your belt and thank him, though you're not sure how. Words feel small here. The swamp looms large, the turtles steady as stones, and you a visitor. A question mark in a place that prefers certainty. Outside, the world hums with unseen life, and the turtles wait quietly for what comes next. You make your way back along the slippery planks, clutching the moss-wrapped charm the turtle keeper gave you. The swamp seems quieter now, as if holding its breath. Somewhere a frog croaks once loud and abrupt, and then falls silent, as if realizing it had interrupted something sacred. You return to the clearing where the tribe has gathered around a low, smoky fire. The turtles have been brought together again, arranged in a loose circle on damp mats. Their shells glisten with a fresh washing, the last of the night's mud wiped away. An elder, her face lined like a dried riverbed, beckons you closer. In her lap rests a carved stick worn smooth by decades of use. Come, she says, tapping the stick gently against the ground. It's time you learn to see. You sit cross-legged beside her, the swampy ground cold and soft beneath you, and watch as she traces a finger along one of the turtle shells. Up close, the carvings are clearer symbols etched into the scutes, the plates that form the turtle's shell. You see spirals, zigzags, and patterns that look like waves, clouds, or even lightning bolts. The elder speaks softly, her voice blending with the hiss of the fire. These marks are the memory of the swamp. We carve them when a storm comes, when a flood rises, when a dry wind scorches the water away. She pauses, eyes twinkling. Historians still debate whether we carve the storms onto the turtles or whether the turtles carve the storms into us. You lean closer, tracing one spiral with your finger. The groove is deep, worn smooth at the edges. It feels old, older than anything you've touched before. The elder watches you with a small smile. That one is from the great wind year, when the sky stayed dark for a moon's passing and trees fell like grass. This turtle was small then, no bigger than your hand. Another turtle is passed around the circle. Its shell bears a single deep notch near the rear edge. The elder taps it gently. That was the night of the double moon. The storm came from nowhere, split the river in two. The turtle ran from it faster than we did. She chuckles softly. Well, as fast as a turtle can run. As the tribe continues the lesson, you start to see the shells not as decorations but as living records. Each scratch and groove a note in the swamp's long, slow song. There's something humbling about it. Back where you're from, people scribble their history in books, build monuments that crumble. But here, history crawls along on leathery feet, slow and steady, and somehow it survives. You learn that certain patterns mean more than just weather. A zigzag near the head means floodwater. A spiral at the center means great wind. Tiny crosshatches near the edges mean starless night, a warning that the sky's map was useless and danger was near. One odd fact you can't resist sharing with yourself: in some ancient cultures far from this swamp, people believe that turtles carry the world itself on their backs. It feels fitting here. These turtles carry at least this swamp's world one storm at a time. A Nuavi boy interrupts your thoughts, pointing to a turtle with a cracked scute. See, he says wide-eyed. That crack means rain by sunset. The elder hushes him gently, but nods. Perhaps. We shall see. You glance at the sky, it's still pale, Still misty, but a breeze stirs the reeds cooler now than before. You can't help but wonder, are they really reading the signs or seeing what they want to see? But then again, isn't that what we all do when we look for patterns in chaos? As the lesson winds down, the elder leans closer and whispers, "Not every mark was made by a human hand. Some marks the swamp makes. Some marks the turtles bring with them from places we'll never walk." Her words settle over you like a blanket. The swamp feels larger, suddenly more mysterious, as if it stretches beyond the edges of the map in your mind. The tribe rises slowly, returning the turtles to their reed pens for the day. The elder stays seated a moment longer, watching the last turtle crawl away. "These shells," she says softly, "they're like time itself. You can't rush them. You can't change them. All you can do is read what's written if you're patient enough." You stand brushing damp earth from your legs and follow the others back toward the huts. The swamp hums and buzzes around you, alive with secrets. And the turtles? They wait as they always have for the next storm to leave its mark. The afternoon drifts in slowly, thick and heavy like the swamp's own breath. You find yourself sitting beneath a leaning palm with a few of the younger tribe members, the heat pressing down on your shoulders. One of them, a boy no older than 12, leans in close, eyes wide with excitement. "Do you know about the storm turtles?" He asks, his voice low, like he's letting you in on a secret he's not supposed to share. You raise an eyebrow, and before you can answer, he's off, words tumbling over each other in his rush. They say, long ago, before even the elders were born, a giant turtle lived deep in the swamp, bigger than any boat. Its shell was like a floating island covered in moss and trees, and it could feel the storms coming days before they reached us. He gestures grandly, nearly knocking over a basket of dried fish. When that turtle moved, the whole tribe followed. It saved everyone from the great drowning when the rivers rose so high they swallowed the land. You smile, charmed by the story, but a woman nearby, perhaps the boy's older sister, laughs softly and shakes her head. "That's just a tale to keep children from wandering too far," she says, though there's warmth in her voice. Still, there's a flicker in her eyes, as if part of her wonders too. And honestly, in a place like this where the swamp feels as alive as anything else, you can't blame them. Historians still debate whether such stories were born purely from imagination or inspired by some ancient forgotten encounter, maybe even with massive river turtles that once thrived in wetter ages. The boy isn't deterred. He digs in the mud at his feet and pulls up a small turtle, its shell streaked with algae. "See this," he says, pointing to a jagged line near the edge. "That's the storm sign. My father says if you see that and the turtle faces east at dawn, you need to pack your things." His pride is infectious, and you nod, playing along even as you glance eastward out of habit. The horizon is hidden in mist. Of course, the swamp never gives you the whole picture at once. One of the elders joins the group, lowering himself with a grunt onto a fallen log. His hair is streaked with white, and his hands are scarred from years of working reed wood and stone. He listens to the boy's tale with a smile, then clears his throat. "The giant storm turtle's name was Hanumak," he says. His voice is rich and low, the kind that could probably calm even the noisiest night insects. Hanumak carried the spirits of the storm on his back. Wherever he rested, the clouds would gather. And when he sank beneath the water, the rain would fall. The group falls quiet, as if his words have summoned the memory of a storm. Even the swamp seems to hush. Somewhere a bird calls once and then goes silent. The elder picks up a stick and draws a rough shape in the mud, a turtle shell ringed with wave-like lines. They say he disappeared one night after leading the tribe to safety. Some think he sleeps beneath the swamp, waiting for the day we need him again. His eyes twinkle. Or maybe he just got tired of carrying us and swam off to find quieter waters. You can't help but laugh, the sound blending with the soft chuckles of the group. The elder's gaze turns serious, though, just for a moment. Stories like Hanumak's remind us to watch the turtles carefully. Not just for what we want to see, but for what they're really telling us. He gestures toward the shallow water where a line of turtles rests on a fallen log. They're part of this swamp as much as the water and the trees. Ignore them, and the swamp will remind you who's in charge. You watch as the breeze stirs the reeds and ripples the surface of the water. It's easy to see how a giant turtle could vanish into this world, becoming just another shadow beneath the lily pads. Odd fact for you, some ancient myths from far-off lands spoke of colossal turtles that shaped rivers, carved valleys, or even carried entire islands on their backs. Maybe stories like Hanumak's aren't so strange after all. As the afternoon faded into early evening, the elder rises, brushing the mud from his hands. "Come," he says, "the turtles will guide us to a dry place for the night. If Hanumak is out there, we'll let him rest." The group gathers their baskets and tools, and you fall in step behind them, following the slow, steady path of the turtles as they lead the way just as they have for generations. The swamp hums with life around you, and for a moment, you feel the weight of time, the long, patient rhythm of a place where storms come and go, but the turtles remain carrying their stories on their backs. Night edges closer, though, in the swamp. It's hard to tell exactly when day ends and night begins. The mist thickens, curling around your ankles like cold fingers, and the world shifts into shades of gray and green. You trail the tribe deeper into the marshlands, the ground beneath you growing softer, wetter, until every step feels like it might be your last solid one. The turtles have gone ahead, their shapes little more than lumps moving through the reeds. You try to keep up, but the swamp has other ideas. A sharp splash cuts through the stillness. You freeze, heart thudding, and scan the water surface. Nothing at first, just ripples spreading outward like the swamp's version of laughter. Then you see it, two dark eyes barely above the waterline watching. A crocodile. Of course. You knew it was only a matter of time. One of the tribe's hunters, a lean man with arms like tree roots, gestures quietly for you to stay still. His eyes don't leave the predator as he eases his way between you and the water's edge. The tension hangs in the air, thick as the mist. After what feels like forever, the crocodile blinks and sinks beneath the surface, vanishing as silently as it appeared. You let out a breath you didn't know you were holding, earning a grin from the hunter. The swamp tests everyone, he says, quietly, amusement in his tone. "Don't take it personal." The group moves on, and you step more carefully now, each footfall deliberate. The swamp's dangers aren't limited to what you can see. More than once, you feel the mud pull at your boots, a reminder of how easy it would be to vanish here, swallowed whole by the land itself. Historians still debate whether swamp tribes like this one chose these treacherous homelands for protection from enemies, or simply because no one else wanted them. Either way, it worked. Few outsiders dared venture this deep. As you wade along, you notice other hazards. Hidden sinkholes masked by floating plants. Snakes coiled like forgotten ropes on low branches. Insects that seem determined to drain your will to live one bite at a time. And yet, through all this, the turtles press forward unhurried and unbothered, as if they know the way by heart. You wonder not for the first time whether they sense dangers long before you do. Odd fact for your collection, turtles have been found to detect low-frequency vibrations through their shells. Maybe that's why these swamp dwellers seem to know where the ground will hold and where it will give way. The tribe pauses at a clearing, a patch of slightly firmer ground, ringed by cypress trees. The air smells of moss and something faintly sweet like wet flowers. The turtles settle themselves along a fallen log, their shells blending with the bark so perfectly you almost lose sight of them. The eldest of the group gestures for silence, raising a hand, as if to calm both the people and the swamp itself. You listen, and in the stillness you hear the low, distant rumble of thunder, faint but there. The elder exchanges glances with the turtle keeper, who's joined the group again, his hands resting on a walking stick carved with turtle motifs. "Storm coming," the keeper says softly. His eyes are on the turtles, who have begun to shift, turning slowly, as if aligning themselves with some invisible force. Not tonight, but soon. The tribe begins to make camp, raising reed mats and hanging them from branches to form makeshift shelters. The work is quiet, practiced to the kind of task that's been done the same way for countless generations. You help where you can, though. You mostly try not to get in the way. The swamp is darker now, the mist thicker, and every sound feels amplified. The creak of branches, the slap of water against roots, the occasional hoot of a nightbird. Once camp is ready, a small fire is coaxed to life, its glow flickering on the faces of those gathered. The elder tells a story to pass the time, his voice low and steady. It's about a hunter who once ignored the warnings of the turtles chasing a deer deeper into the swamp than was wise. The hunter didn't return, and they say to this day on certain misty nights you can hear him calling for help. A soft chuckle ripples through the group. And if you do hear him, the elder finishes, you'd best walk the other way. You lie back on your mat, the ground damp but welcome after the long day. Above the trees sway gently, their shapes blurring with the night sky. You close your eyes, listening to the steady rhythm of the swamp and feel the weight of its secrets pressing in. The turtles rest nearby, as patient as time itself. Whatever comes, storm flood or another crocodile stare, you'll face it alongside them. You wake before dawn, the swamp still cloaked in darkness thick enough to press against your skin. The fire has long since burned down to ash, and the air is cooler, now filled with the kind of quiet that makes your ears ring. The turtles should be where you left them, lined along the log like ancient guardians, but as your eyes adjust, your stomach drops. The log is bare. The turtles are gone. At first, you think maybe you're just looking in the wrong place. You sit up, rubbing sleep from your eyes, and scan the clearing. But no, the log, the water's edge, even the little pools where they sometimes rest, all empty. The tribe begins to stir, and soon the tension spreads through the camp like smoke. Faces that were calm last night now crease with worry. The elder is the first to speak, his voice tight with concern. No sign of them at all. The turtle keeper shakes his head, his bare feet sinking slightly into the mud as he searches. They were here at moonrise. I checked before I slept. His voice carries the weight of someone who knows this isn't just about missing animals. The turtle's disappearance means something, and whatever it means, it isn't good. You join the search, pushing through reeds and wading into knee-deep water. The swamp feels different too, still as if waiting. Every splash you make echoes farther than it should. Somewhere in the distance, a bird calls out a harsh, broken cry that doesn't sound like any bird you've heard before. A reminder that the swamp is full of things you don't understand. As the light grows, it becomes clear the turtles are truly gone. No tracks, no dragged marks in the mud, no broken reeds to show where they went. It's as if the swamp swallowed them whole. One of the younger hunters mutters, "Bad omen." His voice is low, but you hear the tremor in it. They wouldn't leave unless the swamp told them to. Historians still debate whether such beliefs were born purely of fear or whether they reflect some deeper knowledge of animal behavior that modern science hasn't caught up with. After all, animals can sense things we can't, changes in air pressure, the scent of rain on the wind, even the vibrations of an earthquake miles away. Odd fact for your collection: in the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, there were reports of animals fleeing inland hours before the waves hit, as if they knew disaster was coming. Maybe the swamp's turtles share that sense. The elder gathers the tribe in the clearing, his face grave. "We must prepare," he says simply. No grand speeches, no panic, just quiet resolve. The tribe begins to pack what they can carry: baskets of dried fish, reed mats, tools carved from bone and wood. The children help without complaint, their wide eyes darting to the empty log where the turtles should be. You can't help but feel a deep unease settle in your bones. The turtles have been the tribe's guides for generations, steady, reliable, always there. Their sudden silent departure feels like the swamp itself is trying to speak, and you don't know the language well enough to understand. As the sun rises higher, casting weak light through the mist, the tribe moves out, heading for higher ground. The elders lead their pace, quick but careful, as if expecting the swamp to shift beneath their feet at any moment. You follow, glancing back at the clearing one last time. The log is still bare, the water still quiet. Whatever drove the turtles away is out there waiting. The path is harder now, as if the swamp resents your leaving. Mud sucks at your feet, branches snag your clothes, and the air grows heavier with the promise of rain. The tribe says little, the usual quiet broken only by the occasional splash or snap of a twig. Every sound feels sharper, more urgent. Even the insects seem subdued, their hum lower, more like a warning than a song. The turtle keeper walks beside you, his face lined with worry. They don't leave without reason, he says, more to himself than to you. His fingers drum against the handle of his stick, the rhythm matching your quickening heartbeat. We should have seen it coming. The breeze last night, it carried the smell of salt. Storm winds from the sea. His words trail off and you feel the swamp hold its breath again. By midday, dark clouds begin to gather on the horizon, their edges tinged with the kind of purple that makes you think of bruises. The breeze stiffens, carrying with it the faint tang of salt water, just as the keeper said. The tribe picks up its pace, eyes, flicking to the sky, to the water, to the places where the turtles should have been. And you just keep moving one foot in front of the other, hoping that whatever the turtles knew, you'll figure it out before it's too late. The night creeps in without ceremony, the swamp swallowed by shadows that seem to rise from the water itself. The tribe sets up a small camp on a patch of slightly higher ground, a rise barely above the marsh but enough to feel like a refuge for now. You help where you can, lashing reeds together for shelter, stacking damp wood that refuses to catch flame. The air is heavy, every breath thick with moisture and the bitter scent of decay. Somewhere beyond the camp, frogs croak nervously as if warning each other of what's coming. The elder gathers the tribe in a loose circle. No fire tonight, the wood is too wet, the air too restless. Instead, you sit in the dark, listening to the symphony of the swamp insects buzzing low, the slap of water against roots, and the occasional splash of something large moving where it shouldn't. The elder's voice cuts through the night, steady and low. The turtles are gone. The storm is near, but the sky speaks too. Tonight we watch. You follow as the tribe moves to the edge of the clearing, where the trees open up to a view of the night sky. It's cloudy, but breaks appear now and then, revealing stars that glimmer faintly between the drifting clouds. The air hums with tension, the kind that prickles at your skin, makes the hair on your arms stand on end. The tribe's eyes are on the heavens, searching for signs that only they seem to understand. The turtle keeper stands beside you, his face turned upward, the moonlight catching the lines carved deep by time. When the turtles are silent, the stars still speak, he murmurs. Watch the belts, the twins, the hunter's eye. If they flicker, if they vanish behind cloud where none should be, the storm is close. His voice carries the weight of countless nights like this, countless storms weathered and survived. Historians still debate whether these swamp tribes truly read the stars or simply trusted in patterns that seem to repeat often enough to feel like prophecy. Either way, tonight you believe them. The clouds churn above faster than seems natural, and the breeze stiffens, carrying a strange metallic tang that reminds you of lightning's bite. A child points wide-eyed at a patch of sky where stars flickered a moment ago but now are hidden behind a rolling wave of cloud. The elder nods grimly. It will come soon. The tribe begins to make final preparations, lashing what they can hire in the trees, securing reed boats, tying charms of bone and feather to branches in hopes of warding off the worst. Odd fact for you, some ancient mariners believed turtles could guide them across oceans because they followed the stars. Here in the swamp, it's as if the turtles and stars together form the only map that matters, and tonight, that map says trouble. As the night deepens, the wind rises, pushing the mist aside in great swirling banks. The swamp feels exposed now, its secrets laid bare in the moonlight. You can see farther than you want to broken stumps jutting like bones, water rippling, where no breeze touches shapes that might be logs or might not. And through it all, the tribe watches the sky waiting for the final sign. Suddenly, a low roar rolls across the swamp. Not thunder yet, but the sound of air moving where it hasn't in a long time. The trees sway, their branches creaking like old doors. The elder raises his hands, palms up. The turtles were right to flee, he says almost to himself. Now so must we. But where do you run in a swamp? The ground sinks beneath your feet. The water waits to claim whatever stumbles. The tribe doesn't panic, though. They move together like reeds in the wind, following the elder's lead. You fall in beside them, heart pounding, glancing at the sky as the clouds swallow the last of the stars. The world feels smaller, the night heavier, as if the storm's shadow has already arrived. You wade through water that rises higher with every step, the wind lashing at your face, carrying with it the first cold drops of rain. And still the turtles do not return. They are out there somewhere hidden, waiting, perhaps already safe on some unseen mound of earth, while you and the tribe hurry to find your own refuge. You wonder if this is what it felt like in the old stories the night the storm turtles led the people to safety. Only tonight the turtles are gone, and you have only the stars, and now not even those. The swamp belongs to the storm now, and you are just another creature trying to survive its fury. Dawn breaks as a pale smear across the storm-dark sky, but it brings no warmth, no comfort. The rain lashes the swamp, sheets of water driven sideways by the wind. You huddle with the tribe on what little high ground you found, if you can even call it high ground. The mud sucks at your feet, the water creeps higher with each passing hour, and the trees bend under the weight of the storm's fury. The world feels small, trapped between sky and water. And then, through the curtain of rain, you see movement. At first you think it's just debris, a log tossed by the flood, but no. It's slow, deliberate, determined. A turtle pushing through the rising water, its shell streaked with mud and tangled reeds. The tribe sees it too, and a murmur spreads through the group, a ripple of hope in the storm's gloom. The turtle keeper splashes forward, his arms outstretched as if to gather the creature in an embrace. It's one of ours, he calls, joy and relief, breaking through the tension that's held everyone so tight. The turtle reaches the mound of mud and roots where the tribe has taken shelter and stops, its head lifting toward the wind as if testing it. You kneel beside it, close enough now to see the scars on its shell. New ones, deep gouges that weren't there before. Whatever this turtle fled from it didn't escape unscathed. The elder crouches beside you, his hand gentle as he traces one of the cracks. This one has seen the storm's edge, he says quietly. It brings warning and wisdom both. He gestures to the tribe. We will follow it when the water lets us. It will know where the land still holds. Historians still debate whether turtles truly guided swamp tribes to safety or whether desperate people saw what they needed in these patient creatures. But standing there, soaked to the bone, mud clinging to your skin, you're ready to believe. The turtle turns slow but steady, facing upstream toward a line of trees barely visible through the rain. And the tribe watches, waiting for its next move. The storm doesn't ease. If anything, the rain falls harder, the wind tearing at your clothing, stinging your face with every gust. But the return of the turtle steals everyone's resolve. The turtle keeper murmurs a quiet blessing, tying a reed charm to the creature's shell, a token of thanks, a plea for guidance, maybe both. Odd fact for your collection, some cultures believe turtles could bridge the world of the living and the spirit world, carrying messages between them. Here, it feels like this turtle is carrying a message from the swamp itself. Hours pass in a blur of rain, wind, and waiting. The water creeps higher, licking at the base of your shelter. The turtle stays with you unmoving except for its slow, deliberate blinking. It seems to study the flood with the same calm it gives to everything else. The keeper leans close as if listening for secrets in the creature's silence. It will go when the storm's heart has passed, he says, and we will follow. Finally, in the gray hush that comes after the worst of the storm, the turtle shifts. It begins its slow, deliberate crawl toward the trees. No one hesitates. The tribe moves as one, gathering what little they still carry, following the turtle's path across the flooded ground. The mud sucks at your feet, the water rises to your knees, but you keep moving, eyes on that muddy shell ahead. The turtle leads you to a ridge, a low rise barely a hand's width above the flood, but enough. The tribe scrambles up, exhausted but safe for now. The elder turns to you, rain streaking his face like tears. The swamp takes, but it also gives. We listen. We learn. His gaze follows the turtle as it keeps going, vanishing into the mist beyond. And we remember who showed us the way. As the rain eases to a drizzle, the swamp stretches quiet and endless around you. The turtle is gone again, but this time it leaves hope in its wake. You stand with the tribe on the ridge, hearts still pounding the storm's shadow, slowly lifting, and wait for what comes next. The storm has passed, but the swamp is changed. Water lies where solid ground once was, turning familiar trails into rivers and familiar clearings into lakes. The air smells fresh, scrubbed clean by the rain, but beneath it lurks the sour tang of churned-up mud and rotting plants. You stand beside the tribe, gazing out over this drowned world, and feel small, so very small. The turtles may have weathered the storm, but now the question hangs heavy in the air. Where will they rest when there is no dry land left? The answer comes in the form of work. The tribe wastes no time. The elder raises his arms, calling for all hands. We build, he says simply. No speeches, no complaints. Just action. You find yourself drawn into the rhythm of it. Together you gather what the storm has left behind. Fallen branches, reeds torn loose by the wind, slabs of bark. The ground is soft, sucking at your feet as you wade through waist-high water, but no one falters. Even the children carry what they can. At the heart of the flooded clearing, the tribe begins to shape a mound. It starts small, a tangle of branches lashed together, weighted with stones where possible. You help pile mud on top, packing it down with your hands, your feet, anything that works. The work is slow, messy, and backbreaking, but little by little the mound rises an island in the swamp's new sea. A place, the elder says, where the turtles can return, a place that will stand through the next storm. Historians still debate whether these turtle mounds found in ancient swamps across the world were intentional shelters or simply the remains of storm debris piled high by desperate hands. But here, watching the mound take shape beneath your own fingers, you feel sure. This is no accident. This is survival made visible. The turtles, when they reappear, come quietly. No grand return, no procession, just the soft slap of water, the slow crawl of mud-caked shells as they find their way onto the mound. The tribe watches in silence as the first turtle reaches the top, its head lifting to the breeze as if tasting the air. Relief floods through the group. As palpable as the storm's tension had been, the turtles have come home. The turtle keeper steps forward, carrying a bundle of reeds and charms. He kneels at the base of the mound, weaving the reeds into a loose fence to mark the turtles' refuge. They showed us the way through the storm, he says quietly. Now we show them the way home. He glances at you, a glint of humor in his tired eyes. And we make it harder for the crocodiles to steal them too. The children cheer softly at that, their voices thin but bright in the damp air. You smile despite the mud streaked across your face, despite the ache in your arms. Odd fact for your mental library. In some parts of the world, ancient people built artificial turtle-shaped mounds for ceremonies or as landmarks. Here, the mound is both a sanctuary and a symbol. By nightfall, the mound stands firm, ringed with woven mats to hold the mud in place, crowned with turtles resting easy at last. The tribe lights a small fire at the edge of the clearing, its glow flickering across wet faces, glistening shells, and the still swollen waters beyond. The air hums with the soft buzz of insects returning to their nightly chorus, as if the swamp itself breathes easier now. You sit at the fire's edge watching the turtles settle their slow blinks reflecting the flames. The storm has left its mark on all of you, but here in this quiet moment you feel a kind of peace. The mound stands, the turtles are safe, and the swamp, ever patient, ever powerful, has spared you for another night. Morning comes pale and watery, the kind of light that struggles to break through the lingering clouds. The swamp feels bruised as if still nursing the storm's fury. Water drips from every leaf and branch, and the air hums with the sound of a world trying to right itself. The mound stands firm amid the flood, the turtles resting atop it like weathered stones, their shells streaked with drying mud. And then, as if summoned by the quiet, the stranger arrives. You spot him first. A lone figure wading through the swamp's edge, leaning on a tall staff carved with swirling patterns. His hair is long and matted, his face painted in streaks of ochre and ash. The tribe notices him soon after, and the mood shifts. A ripple of unease spreads through the group like the breeze before another storm. The elder steps forward, hands open, cautious but curious. "What do you seek?" he calls out. The man stops at the edge of your clearing water, lapping at his knees. His voice carries rough like bark stripped from a tree. "I bring the promise of rain," he declares. "The storm was but a taste. I can summon the sky's gift when you need it. Your turtles have done their part, but now the swamp requires more." His gaze flicks to the mound, to the resting turtles, and something in his eyes makes you uneasy, like he sees them as tools, not guides. The tribe listens in silence. The storm's memory is still raw, the floodwaters still high, and here stands a man offering control over what no one can command. The elder hesitates, then gestures to the mound. "The turtles have shown us the way. We trust them." His voice is firm, but the stranger only laughs, a low, rasping sound that doesn't quite reach his eyes. Historians still debate whether figures like this rainbringer were true shamans or clever wanderers preying on fear. The line between seer and charlatan is thin, especially in times of hardship. But here now it feels like that line has blurred entirely. The man lifts his staff, spinning it slowly, the charms tied to it clattering like dry bones. "The turtles are slow. The turtles are silent. I can bring what you need faster." The tribe murmurs among themselves. The storm shook their faith not in the turtles perhaps, but in their own readiness. The idea of faster answers, swifter guidance tempts them. The turtle keeper steps forward, planting his own staff, humble, unadorned, into the mud. "The swamp listens to no one's command," he says softly. "Not mine, not yours. The turtles listen because they belong here. Can you say the same?" The rainbringer's eyes flash. He opens his arms, face lifted to the sky, and begins to chant. His voice rises and falls sharp and jagged as the broken branches left by the storm. The sky remains unmoved. No new storm gathers. No fresh rain falls. Only the soft drip of water from the trees, the quiet sigh of the swamp catching its breath. Odd fact for you: in ancient times, some drought-stricken communities did indeed employ ritual rainmakers, people who claimed to speak to the clouds, dance for the sky, coax the weather into mercy. Sometimes they were revered. Sometimes they were driven out when the rains failed to come. The elder watches the rainbringers display with a sadness that cuts deeper than any storm. "Enough," he says at last, voice weary. "Go on your way. We follow the turtles, not the promise of power." The man scowls but does not argue. He wades backward into the mist, the swamp swallowing him as quietly as it does everything else. As the stranger's chant fades, the tribe turns back to the mound, to the turtles who remained steady and sure through all the storm's fury. The breeze shifts, carrying with it the clean scent of the swamp, refreshed. The turtles blink slowly as if in approval. The rainbringer is gone, but the swamp remains, as does its ancient truth. Listen, watch, and wait. The days blur together. After the rainbringer's departure, The swamp slow to return to its old rhythm. But when the flood finally comes, it comes with a fury no chant or charm could have summoned. It begins with a hush, the kind of silence that makes your skin prickle. The frogs fall quiet, the insects still their hum. Even the breeze seems to hold its breath. And then like a beast loosed from its cage, the storm roars back the sky, cracking open, with rain so heavy it feels like the air itself has turned to water. You scramble with the tribe for what little higher ground remains. The mound the turtles claimed is quickly swamped, the water rising fast, swallowing reeds, logs, and whatever else the swamp chooses to take. The turtles, for their part, do not panic. They slip into the water with a grace that feels almost deliberate, their shells vanishing beneath the waves like stones sinking into a bottomless pool. The tribe moves as one, no time for words, no time for second guesses. The elder leads the turtle keeper close behind, guiding you toward a line of trees that for now at least stands above the flood. The water claws at your legs, pulling, dragging, as if trying to remind you that this swamp belongs to no one. Every step is a fight. The mud grabs at your feet, the current tugs at your arms. A child stumbles and you're there hauling them upright, heart hammering. As a log hurtles past, missing by inches. The rain blinds you, stinging your face, filling your mouth with the taste of earth and sky mixed together. The thunder cracks above so loud it shakes the very ground beneath your feet. And all the while, the water keeps rising higher and higher until it feels as if the swamp is trying to reclaim the sky itself. Historians still debate whether these great floods were regular cycles of the ancient swamp or the result of rare catastrophic storms that shaped the tribe's very way of life. But to you slogging through water up to your chest, the why doesn't matter. Only the now does. Only survival. Somehow you and the tribe reach the trees, clinging to roots, branches, anything solid. The elder points higher. Climb, he commands, his voice barely audible over the roar of the storm. And so you climb, hands slick with rain, feet searching for purchase on bark slick with moss. The world shrinks to the feel of wood beneath your fingers, the slap of rain on your back, the drum of your heart in your ears. Odd fact to keep your mind off the terror. In certain ancient flood myths, turtles were said to have carried survivors on their backs, bearing them to safety above the waves. Here, there are no turtlebacks big enough to save you, only your own stubborn will and the strength of the tribe around you. Hours pass, or maybe only moments. Time loses meaning in the heart of a storm, but eventually the rain slows, the thunder moves off into the distance, grumbling like a beast that's had its fill. The water still churns below, but it no longer rises. The worst, it seems, is over. From your perch among the branches, you look out over the drowned swamp. What was once land is now a silver sea, broken only by the tops of trees and the occasional drift of debris. And then movement catches your eye. A turtle. Just one, its shell glistening in the weak light that breaks through the clouds. It rides the water as if it belongs there, and maybe it does more than any of you ever could. The turtle keeper sees it too, and a soft laugh escapes him, ragged with exhaustion, but warm with relief. The turtles endure, he says simply, and so shall we. And as the floodwaters begin to slow their hunger, as the swamp settles into uneasy peace, you believe him. When the flood at last begins to retreat, it does so grudgingly, as if the swamp itself resents having to give up its prize. The waters pull back inch by inch, revealing a world transformed. The ground is no longer ground, but soft, treacherous mud. Trees lean at strange angles, their roots clawing at the air. The air smells of rot and renewal all at once, a heady mix of life and loss. And amid it all, the turtles reappear. You spot the first one at dawn. A slow-moving shadow gliding through the shallows left by the flood. Its shell is scarred, streaked with silt and tangled with reeds, but it moves with that same unshaken calm you've come to recognize. The tribe gathers quietly to watch it, as if afraid to break whatever spell has brought the creature back to them. The turtle crawls onto a patch of firm ground, if you can call anything firm now, and lifts its head to the sky, blinking at the weak sun struggling through the clouds. More turtles follow, emerging from beneath logs, from flooded burrows, from places you would have sworn nothing could survive. Some are battered shells, cracked or chipped by the storm's wrath. But they are here. They endured. And in their slow return, the tribe finds its own strength mirrored back at them. The turtle keeper kneels beside the largest of them, tracing a new gouge along its shell. This one knew when the storm would end, he murmurs. It waited for the water to speak, and then it came. His words carry both wonder and relief, and you feel it too. In the face of so much destruction, these quiet survivors feel like proof that the swamp still holds its balance, fragile but unbroken. Historians still debate whether these tribes truly read the turtles' movements as signals, or whether their faith shaped what they saw. But watching now, it's hard not to believe that the turtles knew. That they waited for the storm's rage to pass, and then led the way back to what remained. The elder gathers the tribe, his voice carrying over the soft rush of draining water. We rebuild. The swamp changes, but it does not end. The turtles teach us this, and so the work begins again. You help gather fallen branches, strip bark for cordweave reeds, for new shelters. The ground squelches beneath your feet, but it holds. Just enough. Odd fact for your collection: in some ancient cultures, turtles were symbols of both chaos and order, creatures that moved between worlds, bearing the weight of both destruction and rebirth. Here it feels true. The turtles carry the memory of the flood in every crack of their shells, and yet they move forward steady as ever. As the day wears on, the sun breaks free of the clouds, at last casting long rays across the swamp. The turtles bask in the light, their shells drying, their eyes half-lidded in contentment. The tribe works around them, respectful, careful not to disturb their slow vigil. And you pause just for a moment to watch and breathe. The storm is over. The flood has passed, and the turtles remain silent witnesses to the swamp's endless rhythm of destruction and renewal. By nightfall, the new shelters stand humble but strong. The turtles rest nearby, a living reminder that survival is slow, patient work. And as the stars return to the sky, their light reflected in the swamp's still waters, you feel the first true peace since before the storm began. Days pass, and with them the swamp slowly sheds its storm scars. The water recedes, the mud begins to firm, and the green of new growth pushes through the wreckage. The turtles remain near the rebuilt shelters, their shells blending with the land they helped guide you through. It feels like balance is returning until the outsiders come. You hear them before you see them. Voices loud, confident, careless of how sound carries across the quiet water. A group of traders, their canoes piled high with goods, pots, beads, dried fish things from beyond the swamp. They paddle toward your camp with an air of entitlement, as if the swamp itself were theirs to cross. The tribe watches from the shadows of the trees, wary. Outsiders mean trouble more often than not. When they land, their leader, a man with bright cloth wrapped around his head and a grin that doesn't quite reach his eyes, steps out onto the muddy bank. We bring goods, he calls, spreading his arms wide. Trade for fish skins, whatever you have. We've heard your turtles can tell the storms. We'd like to see that for ourselves. His tone is light, but his eyes flick toward the turtles resting near the water's edge. The elder steps forward, his expression unreadable. The turtles are not for trade, he says quietly. They are our guides, not our goods. The traders laugh, the kind of laughter that grates. One of them gestures to the mound. What's so special about a turtle? We have those where we come from. Don't need magic to see when it rains. Historians still debate how much respect ancient traders showed to the sacred practices of swamp tribes. Some accounts speak of peaceful exchanges. Others tell of exploitation, mockery, and worse. Here you see the uneasy balance tipping toward the latter. The trader's curiosity isn't born of respect. It's hunger for novelty, for something to boast of in distant markets. The turtle keeper watches silently, his hands resting on his staff. His eyes never leave the traders, but his body stays relaxed as if he knows the swamp will answer for him if need be. You catch his gaze, and he gives the smallest shake of his head, a reminder not to provoke, not yet. The traders linger, poking at the mound, laughing at the idea of turtles as weather guides. One of them even reaches toward a resting turtle, only to jerk his hand back with a curse as the creature snaps at his fingers. "Stupid beast," the man mutters, but the grin has slipped from his face. The tribe says nothing, but you sense the shift. The swamp itself seems to lean in, watching, waiting. Odd fact for you. In some early cultures, turtles were symbols of patience and wisdom, and to mock them was seen as tempting bad luck. Standing here now, you can almost feel that ancient warning pressing down. The elder speaks at last. "We trade fish, we trade reeds, we trade what the swamp gives freely. But we do not trade our turtles. If you want stories of the storm, sit with us, listen. If you want to mock, take your goods and go." His voice is calm, but there's steel beneath it. The traders glance at each other, their bravado fraying at the edges. In the end, they take some fish, leave a few beads, and paddle away, their laughter, force their eyes glancing over their shoulders as if expecting the swamp to rise up after them. The tribe watches them go silent until the canoes vanish into the mist. The turtle keeper finally lets out a breath. "Outsiders always think they can read the swamp at a glance," he says softly. "But the swamp writes its lessons slow." The turtles shift on the mound, their eyes half-lidded in the afternoon light, as if unimpressed by the entire encounter. You sit beside them, grateful for their quiet presence. The traders are gone. The swamp is yours again for now. And the turtles. They remain as they always have, steady as the land beneath the water, patient as time itself. Time passes as it always does in the swamp, not in days marked on a calendar, but in the slow rhythm of rain, sun, and the soft breathing of the land. And one day, that rhythm changes. The oldest turtle, the one the tribe calls Old Wetfoot, moves slower than ever. His shell, once dark and gleaming, is pale with age, cracked and lined like the bark of the oldest trees. His eyes, so steady and knowing, seem to fade, their shine dulled. And you sense, as the tribe does, that his time is drawing to a close. The turtle keeper notices first. He kneels beside Old Wetfoot, resting a hand gently on the ancient shell. "He's ready," he says quietly, more to the swamp than to anyone else. The elder nods and word spreads through the camp. The tribe gathers, no one needing to be told. They come as they are, bringing no tools, no goods, only themselves and the weight of what Old Wetfoot has meant to them. There is no rush. No one hurries him along. The turtle rests on the mound as he always has, head lifted to the breeze, eyes half closed. And when he breathes his last, it is as soft as the mist that curls over the swamp at dawn. A stillness settles deeper than any silence you've known. The swamp seems to pause, honoring one of its oldest children. The burial begins at first light the next morning. The tribe chooses a patch of ground just above the highest floodline where the soil is firm and the trees stand like quiet sentinels. You help carry Old Wetfoot there, cradled in a woven sling of reeds and branches. The weight surprises you, not just the heft of his body, but the heaviness of knowing this is the last journey you will share with him. The grave is dug with hands, with sticks, with whatever will move the stubborn earth. It is not deep, no grave can be here where the water always waits beneath the soil. But it is enough. The turtle keeper lays Old Wetfoot down, smoothing the mud around him, placing charms of bone and feather, bits of polished shell, tokens of the tribe's gratitude. The elder speaks few words. He carried the storms on his back. He carried us through them. We remember, and that is all. The grave is covered, marked with a ring of stones, simple and true. The swamp will take the rest in its own time. Historians still debate whether such burials were common practice or reserved for turtles of special significance. Some suggest they were part of larger ceremonies, others that they were private, sacred moments like this one. Either way, you feel the weight of it, the blending of loss and respect, of grief and acceptance. The tribe lingers at the grave, laying reeds bead small tokens. You find yourself adding your own, the moss-wrapped charm the keeper once gave you, now faded and frayed, but still holding the memory of that first night beneath the turtle keeper's roof. The swamp hums softly as if acknowledging the offering. Odd fact to tuck away in ancient myths from far-off lands. It was said that when a great turtle died, the earth shook or rivers changed course. Here, the swamp remains still, but in your heart the world feels altered, as if the balance has shifted in a way you don't yet understand. As the sun sets, casting gold and crimson across the water, the tribe returns to camp. The mound feels emptier now, though the other turtles rest there still, their shells catching the last light of day. The swamp breathes on, patient and eternal, and you sense old Wetfoot's spirit in that breath, part of the land he served so long. You lie awake that night, listening to the soft lapping of water, the whisper of reeds in the breeze. And in the darkness, you promise yourself this: to remember, to listen, to learn the swamp's slow lessons as old Wetfoot did, as the turtles still do. In the days that follow old Wetfoot's burial, the swamp seems to settle into a new, quieter rhythm. The floodwaters withdraw a little more each sunrise, leaving behind fresh mud, new shoots of green, and the ghosts of old trails beneath the water's stain. The turtles, fewer in number now, without their elder, continue their slow patrols of the mound, their movements as deliberate and timeless as ever. And you, like the tribe, begin to see them with new eyes, not just as guides of weather, but as keepers of something deeper. Time's shadow, perhaps, or memory's weight. You rise early each morning, joining the turtle keeper as he tends to the mound. There are no grand ceremonies now, no rituals beyond the simple acts of care, checking the turtles' shells for cracks, cleaning away the silt left by the storm, weaving fresh reeds around the mound's edges to strengthen it against future floods. The keeper works in silence, and you match his pace, finding comfort in the steady rhythm of the swamp's small labors. One morning, as mist curls around your feet and the first sun glints off the water, the keeper pauses. He rests a hand on the mound, gaze distant. "The turtles outlast us," he says softly. "They outlast the storms, the floods, the traders, even the stories we tell. And one day they'll outlast us too." He glances at you, a wry smile tugging at his lips. "If you're lucky, maybe you'll learn to be as patient as they are, but I wouldn't bet on it." Historians still debate whether the tribe's reliance on turtles for guidance was born of deep understanding or simply the need for something steady in a world that shifted with every rain. But standing here now, watching a turtle inch its way along the mound's edge, you see the wisdom in their choice. The turtles endured because they moved with the swamp, not against it. Because they listened where others demanded. Because they waited where others rushed. Odd fact for your thoughts: some ancient civilizations believed turtles could live for hundreds of years, their shells storing the knowledge of ages. Looking at these swamp dwellers, it's easy to believe. Each crack, each scar feels like a chapter in a book written slowly with mud and water instead of ink. The seasons shift. The storm's memory fades, though the land still bears its marks. The traders return less often, their curiosity about the turtles dulled by the passage of time, or perhaps by the swamp's quiet resistance to being tamed. The tribe continues as it always has, listening, learning, surviving. And the turtles, they remain patient as the tides, steady as the rain. One evening, as the sun sinks low and the swamp glows gold and green, you find yourself alone at the mound. The turtles rest in the last warmth of the day, their shells gleaming in the fading light. You sit beside them, listening to the hum of insects, the soft lap of water, the sigh of the breeze through the reeds. And you understand at last what the tribe has known all along, that the turtles are more than guides, more than symbols. They are the shadow of the ages, the slow, quiet reminder that time belongs not to those who rush, but to those who endure. And as night falls, wrapping the swamp in darkness, you promise yourself again to listen, to wait, to honor the turtle's steady path. The storm may come again. The flood may rise. But the turtles will remain, and through them so will the memory of all that has come before. The story of the swamp tribe and their weather-guiding turtles is one of patience, resilience, and harmony with the natural world. From the quiet rituals at dawn to the frantic flight before the storm, you followed a people who placed their trust in the slow wisdom of creatures often overlooked by outsiders. The turtles, steady and unhurried, taught the tribe to read the subtle signs of their world, the breeze before a flood, the shifting stars before a storm, the quiet return of balance after destruction. Through floods, traders, and the passing of their oldest turtle, the tribe endured not through conquest or defiance, but through listening and adapting. Their turtle mound stood as both sanctuary and symbol, a reminder that strength is not always loud or fast. The swamp's endless cycles of storm and calm shaped the tribe's way of life, and through it all, the turtles remained constant, their shells bearing the marks of time's slow passage. In the end, the turtles outlasted the storms, the floods, and even the tribe's own fears. They became the living shadow of the ages, silent witnesses to the ebb and flow of life in the swamp. And you too became part of that quiet rhythm, learning that true survival is found not in speed or strength, but in the simple act of enduring.